Hello, friends. Welcome back. I am Samodian. This is Kingdom Death Simulator. We are about to get butchered. So, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining me here. We have a very big fight coming up, but before that, we of course have to take care of some business. That being starting off with our content warning. Kingdom Death is a very mature game, has a lot of adult imagery, as well as depictions, descriptions of violence, gore, body horror, as well as mental trauma. So, perfectly understandable if any of that is too much for you. Appreciate your support, but first and foremost, look out for yourselves. And, well, just judging from the artwork here, we're going to see some stuff coming up. If this is your first time here, thank you for joining. You can always catch up over on the YouTube channel. We have the first 3 streams up there for anybody to see. So please, you can go catch up there. Come back here when you're all caught up, or enjoy this stream and catch up later to see what you missed. As for what you missed, I'm going to be honest with you. We're not doing great. I'm going to give us probably a 50-50 shot of beating the Butcher. And if we lose to the Butcher, I'm going to consider starting over because we are not doing great on the resource front. Hunts have not been kind to us. We're a little light on gear. Going into the Butcher fight, I was able to get our 2 sets of rawhide armor, but we don't have any bandages yet. That's going to be a big problem. We don't really have a great weapon loadout. We're starting to fall behind on innovations. So it's just starting to snowball in a pretty unfortunate direction, and losing this fight can devastate us quite a bit. But we're going to give it our best. And we're mostly bringing our A-team. So let's take a look at who we're bringing along with us this time around. We have Leandros. He is just rocking his spear, as well as the skull helm and cloth. Not much going on there. Urza is still decked out with all of her good stuff. Urza's primary role previously was as our main tank. Now she's going to be serving more as our primary damage dealer. We now have a much better option for our tank, although she is still hooked up with gear. Beyond that, we have Alba rejoining us with her bow. And our new survivor, I decided not to take Alistair. His Fist and Tooth is still a little low damage right now, and notably the monster we are fighting has 9 toughness as opposed to the 8 that we'd seen previously. So I decided to go with a bit more of a heavy hitter. And that's our new friend here, Cedric. Cedric is going to be our primary tank. He is rocking the other rawhide gear, and I made a bit of a change in between recordings. The extra bone darts we had made for Alba, I decided to recycle that bone and instead invest it in a bone club here for Cedric. Bone club just deals a ton of damage. So our strategy against the Butcher is basically going to be a DPS race. If the Butcher starts getting too many turns on us, I don't think we're going to be able to survive. So, who is the Butcher? So, we talked about briefly, but let's go ahead and reread his introduction. There once was a man who could not hide his fear. He wore a mask that transformed his cowardice to rage. In turn, the man transformed into a monster. All that remained was a devouring fury that stalked the night, collecting the fearful faces of others. So, realistically, the Butcher, he's scared himself. And the way he has chosen to deal with that fear is by lashing out to those around him, killing as many people as he can, collecting their lanterns to add to his horde to help keep him safe and a little less afraid. So our survivors deal with a lot of that same fear, but theoretically we're handling it in a healthier way. As for the showdown, the Butcher comes to us, so we don't have to go on a hunt phase. So Butcher is the first one we're coming across what's known as a nemesis monster. So we've seen before with the white lion and the screaming antelope, those are your hunt quarries. And the hunt phase there adds randomness because you never know what's going to happen before you get to the monster. It adds a little spice to it. Whereas your nemesis encounters, these are basically your gear checks. Like you're going to arrive to every nemesis encounter in perfect condition, or as perfect as you can be. However, so it's going to serve as like a measuring stick. If you're struggling with your nemesis encounters, you're probably behind the power curve on your gear and your settlement. So we deployed. I already set it up previously. So we have our stone column out. We also have a random terrain that we're going to touch on. Butcher starts in the center. We start along the bottom edge. And for the first time here that we've seen, we are defending, so we get to go first. A couple little housekeeping things to take care of here. I've already given everybody their departing bonuses. Notably, Urza has something she's had for a while, but we haven't been able to activate it until now with Quixotic. She is insane. She has, actually not updated on her sheet. She has 5 insanity right now. Or am I looking at the right one? No, 3 insanity. Yeah, so she is insane. So that gives her 1 extra survival and notably 1 strength token. So she is a big buff girl. She's going to be doing a lot of damage for us. Beyond that, we have, once we arrive here, we still have to give ourselves our arrival bonuses. We have some stone noses out here. So Alba as well as Cedric are each going to gain a survival and an insanity. And that's going to be very helpful because we need all the insanity we can get in this fight. Cedric's still only got 1, but we're gonna buff that up a bit as soon as we can. For our random terrain, we drew some more fresh acanthus, so we're just going to kind of place those around. Oh, this is new. Interesting. We're just going to kind of set those off around the sides of the battlefield. Was that 1, 2, 3? Maybe that one there and that one there, so that they're available if and when we need them. As for our starting positions, we're going to make sure Urza and Cedric are front and center. We'll scoot Leandros around this way, and Alba, she'll stay a little off to the side. So let's kick this off. I believe everything's set up. So let's take a look at what the Butcher has to offer. So as I mentioned previously, he has 9 toughness. He also has 13 wounds, which is also a significant increase over our previous encounters. So here's our big problem here. Bleed. Butcher's going to deal quite a bit of bleed damage. And once we reach 5 bleed tokens, we just straight up die. This is why I really wanted to try to get those bandages, but I felt the second armor set was going to be a little more valuable. He also has a bunch of fun abilities, starting with Berserker. He draws 2 cards per turn. That's going to be fun. He has Fast Target. At the beginning of each of his turns, we reshuffle the hit location deck. So this is a little interesting. If we get some bad locations, they're going to be cycled back in. But also if we get some good locations, we're going to get extra opportunities. We're also never going to know where the trap is. So pretty dangerous. We have Dreaded Trophies. When a survivor dies, place their miniature on this card. The monster gains the following bonuses for each miniature on Dreaded Trophies. So with 1 dead survivor, all attack profiles gain an additional bleed. At 2, he gets +1 movement and +1 speed. And at 3, he gains +2 damage. So things can get out of hand pretty quick on this fight. If we lose 1, we're quite possibly going to lose everybody. And finally, each of our survivors here, as you've seen, has a little extra card. Infectious Lunacy. When you suffer brain damage, gain lunacy tokens equal to the damage suffered. When you have 3+ lunacy tokens, remove them all and suffer the frenzy brain trauma. We'll get to what that means shortly, but essentially we're going to lose access to some of our abilities. So we are, once again, we're just going to go in hard and try to take down the Butcher as quickly as possible. And I think that's everything, so let's kick it off. So the first thing we're going to do here, Cedric's going to run up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that was only 4. 5. He doesn't really have anything he can do at this range, so he's going to use his Rawhide Headband to look at our top 2 cards of the AI deck. Actually, I'm going to say he does that before he moves, just to see what we are looking at here coming up. So we have Hack, closest threat in facing, closest threat, okay. 2 speed, 4 accuracy, 1 damage, but we do gain a bleeding token. And then Gaze of Truth, move and intimidate. So if the Butcher is adjacent to the target, roll 1d10. I think that we're not going to be able to not be adjacent. But okay, so this is what we know we have to deal with. We'll start with Hack, just in case Cedric gets knocked down. He'll still be the target. And then Urza, she's going to come in as well. And she's going to spend her first turn using her Order of Death ability. So once per showdown, she can spend her action to have all non-death survivors gain +2 insanity. So let's bump up that insanity a bit more. Okay, so we're feeling a little healthier now. Leandros also can't quite do anything. But Alba, see, this is where I would have liked to have the bone darts. So actually, we're going to, 1, 2, 3, we're going to let Leandros pick this Acanthus while he has the opportunity. With a, that's kind of cocked. We're going to re-roll that one. With a 4, find nothing. And we're going to have Alba do the same thing on this side. I can actually bring them around this way. I think that's a better position. So again, on this other one, with a 5, find something tasty and consume it. If you do, gain +1 survival, archive the terrain. Absolutely, we will take that extra survival on Alba. All right, so that's that taken care of. We've done pretty much everything we can do, so on to the Butcher. Starting off with Hack. Closest threat in facing, we are choosing Cedric for this. So 2 speed, 4+. Cedric does have 3 evasion. He has his 1 natural evasion. He has 1 for the rawhide armor. The rawhide vest. And then a 3rd evasion for the monster grease. So the Butcher is hitting on 7s. That is 1 hit. So we're just straight up going to dodge this. It's only 1 damage, but that lets us avoid taking that bleed. Let's see if we get to keep our survival. We do. Okay. And then next up, as we already know, Gaze of Truth. Closest threat facing, still going to be Cedric. Butcher looms over the target mere inches from their face. If the Butcher is adjacent to the target, roll 1d10. Move. Okay, never mind. Roll 1d10 on a result of 3+, so let's start there. Yes. Target suffers brain damage equal to the monster's level, so that is 1 off of his insanity. Is knocked down, but does gain +2 understanding and a random disorder. So we will knock down Cedric. He does gain +2 understanding, which will trigger insight, so that's nice. We'll take care of that shortly. So a couple things happening here. He's going to gain a frenzy token for suffering brain damage. And he's going to get a random disorder. He gets Immortal. Ooh, okay. When you are insane, convert all damage dealt to your hit locations to brain damage. This is actually not great for the butcher fight. But he is not currently insane. You're so busy reveling in your own glory that you cannot spend survival while insane. Okay, that's an uncomfortable thing to draw for the butcher, but it is what it is. And we do trigger his insight. Does not happen often during the showdown. Insight. Okay, so what does he get during the showdown? Watching the chaotic movements of monsters, you perceive a pattern. Perhaps its motives are not so different from your own. You can imagine yourself in the monster's place. This is so thematic for the butcher fight. Gain the following ability and roll on the table. So he gains Analyze. At the start of his turn, if he is adjacent to the monster, I can reveal the top AI card, then place it on top of the deck. Super valuable for a tank. Doesn't cost anything, just gets to stand in the monster's face and see what they're going to do next. It's basically a mini built-in rawhide headband. Very cool. And let's roll on our table. He gets a 7. Gain +3 survival, +3 insanity. No, he's insane now. Okay. Well, that's triggering his immortal now. I'm going to actually keep that card out just as a reminder. Okay. Let's give him the Analyze, though. All right, and now we're just going to start beating the crap out of this guy. So to start off with, we're going to have Urza encourage Cedric to stand up. Let's see if Urza gets to keep her survival. She does. So for anybody who doesn't know from previously, the Rawhide Armor has this ability where when someone spends their survival, they get to roll to see if it comes back. Whoopsie. So we will note that she has used her Encourage. Don't think it's going to matter, but I need to really try hard to start keeping track of these things. And we're just going to have Cedric start off with his big old bone club. So he's 2 speed, hitting on 6s. So this is much like the bow. It's cumbersome, so he cannot, he can. He has to spend his movement in addition to his action. So yeah, he's just really just going to stand here and take a pummeling until he can't any longer. So that is 1 hit. And we have targeted the Furious Gauntlet. So this does have a failure reaction, but the Bone Club has 5 strength. Cedric himself has 1 strength. So against the Butcher's toughness of 9, we just need a 3 to wound. I'm doing my best, Shroom. That is a crit. No special crit location on here. So we just deal the wound and get to ignore the failure reaction. That ends Cedric's turn. We're going to move on to Urza, who's going to scoot around into the blind spot. So she has her Bone Axe hitting on 5s. So that is 2 hits. All right, we've got the Furious Gauntlet. Really nothing happening here. And then we have a failure. All right, so we're going to start with the Furious Greaves, since there's really no risk here. So Urza has her Bone Axe with 3, as well as currently she is at 3 strength herself. So she is also looking for a 3 to wound. That is a wound. And then the Furious Van Braces, same deal. Okay. Of course. So perform basic action, targeting the attacker, And the attack gains Headhunter. So we're going to spin around, targeting Urza. So for basic action, 2 speed, just like Cedric, hitting on 7s for Urza. 2 misses. All right, good to go. Next up, Alba should be in range. Yes, she is in range. We'll have her fire her bow. I believe this is the first time we've used the bow. So cumbersome, range 6. So this is pretty much just a straight upgrade over the bone darts, with the only difference being that the bone darts we could at least move and fire at the same time. Also have an ability called Aim, where before she attacks, she gets to choose. She can reduce the speed to gain +2 accuracy. So essentially, like if we're down to like the wire, really like our last wound, this is going to be a great ability because she gets to slow it down and be more likely to hit. So Alba still doesn't have any natural accuracy, so 2 speed hitting on 7s. 1 hit. To the Furious Bellow. All right, so this is going to be fun. So let's do the wound first. So the bow has a strength of 3. Alba has a strength of 2, so she is wounding on a 4. That is a wound. I will take it. All right. The Butcher unleashes a deep guttural roar unless attacker is deaf or has 3+ courage. Neither of those things are true. They suffer brain damage equal to the monster level and are knocked down. Boo. Brain damage, so that means she's gaining a frenzy. And she will lose an insanity. She has plenty of insanity to spare. Let's see. Leandros doesn't have a ton of survival. So I think we will wait. We'll leave Alba knocked down. Have Urza get her up next turn. That should be okay. And then Leandros gets to come in this way with his spear. Has a bit of range. So spear hitting on 6s for him, correct? That is 2 hits, one of them perfect hit, although that doesn't particularly matter. We've got our Cleaver and our Thick Cape. So Cleaver, impervious. So we can't deal damage. The attacker's heart is frozen with dread, gain +1 insanity. So that's helpful. Leandros is starting to get a little crazy. And so there's really nothing else to do with that hit location, unfortunately. So this is where that fast target comes into play. Like these cleavers are going to keep coming up over and over again. But we also have the Thick Cape, the rare hit location with a little bit of flavor text. The Butcher's cape is decorated with the shriveled, screaming faces of his victims. I don't know if we've actually taken a look at the Butcher, but yeah, he's definitely got a bit of a fiend Bray Wyatt thing going on here. Rest in peace with the face lanterns. So let's do the thing. All right, so 3 strength on the spear, 2 strength on Leandros, so wounding on a 4. That is a wound. So, as we've seen a number of hit locations so far, we haven't seen anything with crit on it. Another reason why we didn't choose to bring Alistair on this fight. So Reflex. Attacker rolls a d10. If the result is greater than their courage, they suffer brain damage equal to the monster's level. So Leandros has a courage of 2. Yeah, so he will take a brain damage. So he will lose that insanity that he just gained. And that is that. So back around to... I guess it doesn't really matter. Back around to the Butcher. So fast target means we get to reshuffle his hit locations. And he's going to draw 2 AI cards. Lantern Hunger. The butcher disappears in a flash of light, reforming from the glow of a survivor's lantern. Target the furthest survivor. That's going to be poor Alba. Target is doomed. Place the butcher in an unoccupied space adjacent to the target. So thankfully we get to choose where that is. We will choose here. And 4 speed, 4 accuracy, 4 speed. Oh my. I need to go get one of my extra dice. And I don't think Alba has any evasion. She has 1 evasion, her natural evasion. So hitting on 5s. That is 2 hits. So she will take 1 damage each to the waist and head, suboptimal. So that is a heavy wound on her head already and removes her waist armor. And she also gains the priority target token. That's not going to be fun. Which means this next attack will also be targeting her. With Bite. Closest threat facing. We ignore that because of priority target. Again, 2 speed. Well, not again. Thankfully, only 2 speed this time for accuracy. So hitting on 5s. That is 1 hit. And that is 1 damage to her hands. She could... Yeah, she's going to dodge this so that she doesn't suffer the severe head injury. She was doomed on the previous attack, not doomed on this one. You can dodge while knocked down, so she is absolutely going to do that. Oops, I forgot to shuffle this one in. All right, and thankfully that does now also remove the priority target token. So that's where I have to remember to use Cedric's Analyze ability every turn. Okay, so that ends the monster's turn. Alba does get to thankfully stand up because she was... Or did she? Yeah, she was already knocked down from the bellow thing. Hello, Lantis! So what do we want to do here? I think to start off with, can't get Cedric into the front, unfortunately. All right, so let's see. What did... Look at that. There was no, like, you just had to be adjacent, right? At the start of the turn if you're adjacent. Okay, so we can't even analyze. That's fine. He'll just headband. Since he can't attack this turn. So we'll probably just save Cedric for last because we don't know what's going to happen. Alba does also have the dagger as a backup. So I think we might do that this time around. Just to get her out of the way. So 3 speed hitting on 7s. And then she's going to scoot on out of there. That is 1 hit to the Furious Crown. So this has 1 strength. She has naturally 2. So this is going to be wounding on a 6. That is a wound. Oh, I haven't been updating the thing. My goodness. How many wounds was that? I'm trying to think. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. dealt him 5 of his 13 wounds. Brings him down to 8. So yes, we did the wound. Butcher lashes out wildly, clearing a path for itself. All survivors adjacent to the Butcher suffer bash. Full move towards the furthest survivor. Okay. So Alba is the only one adjacent, so she's just going to go lay down again. Who's the furthest? 1, 2, 3, 4 to Urza. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to Leandros. So that actually works out quite well for us. Because now Cedric is in Blown Club area. Before we do that, we're going to step Leandros out of the way and let him swing. So hitting on 6s. Right? Yeah, nobody has accuracy on this one. So that is 1 hit to the Furious Gauntlet, and then again wounding on a 4. That is a crit, not that it matters. And we don't suffer the failure. Next we'll have Urza again step into the blind spot, hitting on 5s. 1 hit. Oh no! The trap! The Butcher explodes in a burst of ferocity. Zone of Malice is everybody adjacent to him. So thankfully we scooted some people out of the way. The attacker is doomed. All survivors in the Zone of Malice gain 1 bleeding token and suffer knockback 5. Probably shouldn't have left Leandros there. Okay, something to be aware of in the future. I got to double check that rule. So that is a bleed for Cedric. A bleed for Urza. So let me just double check that rule for when you get knocked back into another survivor. Knockback, move target, knock straight directly from the cause the effect. I guess maybe that might be under collision. Monster moves through a space. If monster ends its movement. If a survivor is knocked back into impassable terrain, they collide with it, and the survivor suffers collision. If survivor suffers knockback into another survivor, complete the knockback movement normally. Both survivors suffer collision. If the survivors would occupy the same space and dead. Okay. So, well, all right, we can probably deal with that. So Cedric gets knocked back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Both Cedric and Leandros are knocked down. Oh, Cedric hasn't attacked yet. Shoot. Okay. And then Urza also gets that knockback 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But she did not collide, so she is not knocked down. And then perform the basic action targeting Urza. So move and attack. So he's just going to come after her. So this is hitting on 7s. 2 misses. All right, so we're good there. However, that now means we shuffle again. All right, everybody's knocked down. All right, well, we will have Urza encourage Cedric to stand since he hasn't taken a turn yet. And he's just going to do what he can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to Rawhide Headband again. So the Butcher, thankfully, is running out of cards already. So closest threat facing, that's obviously going to be Urza. That is what it is. And then Embrace the Pain. Oh, boy. All right, so doesn't really matter what order we do this in. But yeah, now we're going to have some extra attacks coming in. So whatever, we'll just put them back. And I think that's all we can do. Should have flipped that over and back again, but oh, I keep forgetting about dash. Sorry, we're gonna reshuffle. I want to look at the trap again real quick. Only the attacker is doomed. So Cedric and Leandros could have dashed out of the way. Noted. Don't forget, guys. Remind me. This is a very complicated game, especially playing solo. So it's very easy to forget some of these things. All right, well, we'll know that for next time. Cedric can't encourage, but I think that's fine. We'll leave it as is. So on to the butcher again. Hack. Let me just double check to make sure I remember to shuffle that. Closest threat facing, that's Urza. So hitting on 7s. Of course, 2 hits. So that is 1 damage each to the body and head. She can take that. And then after damage, so this isn't 1 bleed token per hit. It's just after all the damage is done, she gains 1 bleed token. And then here we are with our Embrace the Pain. So he's going to draw another card. When the butcher is wounded, place 1 token on the card. And then at the start of his turn, if it has 2 tokens, going to remove all those and perform basic action. So the good news, this is now another card out of his AI deck. So technically, that counts as a wound. But the DPS race has heated up. All right, let's draw that next card by reshuffling this stuff in. So 1 more, Lantern Hunger, target the furthest survivor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's either Leandros or Cedric. We're definitely going to choose Cedric. Yeah, we'll put him here. So again, 4 speed, hitting on 7s for Cedric. That is 1 hit. Cedric cannot dodge because he is immortal. So he will take 1 damage, and because he's immortal, that damage comes out of his insanity. So the good news is, if he takes a couple more hits, he will not be triggering immortal anymore. But he also gains the priority target token. Fine with me. And that is that. So that means Alba and Leandros get to stand. All right. Do I risk it with the daggers again? Yeah, I'm okay with risking it with the daggers because I need to do damage. Can't really play it safe. So we're just gonna stab away here. Come on. I believe she's hitting on 7s. That is 2 hits. One of them's the trap. Okay. And Cedric cannot dash. Gosh. Alrighty. So everybody in the Zone of Malice gets a bleeding token and knock back 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this is gonna make things problematic. And then he's going to follow it up. Things are not looking great for poor Alba here. She does have 1 evasion to her name. So we're hitting on 5s. Only 1 hit. She is doomed, so she cannot dodge. She will take 1 to her waist. That's probably our best case scenario there. And another bleeding token. Okay, not the worst I've seen. Let's shuffle that a little farther down this time, huh? All right, so who could do anything? Nobody really. Except for Urza, who's in position for another backstab. She's looking for those 5s. 1 hit. Oh, no. Okay, so +2 toughness. So normally she would be wounding on a 4, so she's going to be wounding on a 6. No, normally she'd be wounding on a 3. So she's wounding on a 5. That is a wound. Lantern Explosion. If the roll to wound this hit location is a Lantern 10, it was not. So nothing of note happens here. Although this is a way to get some stuff off that Dreaded Trophies, but hopefully we're just not going to get anything onto Dreaded Trophies. So we do have to put a token on Embrace the Pain. What have we got here? I'll just use Endeavor tokens. That's fine. And I don't think anybody else can do anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no. Leandros can get in there with his spear. So he's hitting on 6s. No hits. And then Cedric's just going to... 5. I'm going to move him here so that since he's the priority target, we can swing the Butcher in a better direction. And he's also going to Rawhide Headband. So coming up, we've got Hack and Bite. All right, so we're going to start with Hack. So hopefully, I actually hope he deals some damage. So that way Leandros is no longer insane and he can spend some survival on Bite. But we'll see how that goes. That's everybody. Okay. So, as I said, Hack. Closest threat facing. He's ignoring that because Leandros has priority target. Accuracy 4, so hitting on 7s for Leandros. 1 hit. So that is 1 damage. That's going to come out of his insanity because of Immortal. Which means he's still insane, unfortunately, and gains a bleed. At least we're spreading out the bleed. That's helpful. Yeah. Oh! That's also because that's going to be Infectious Lunacy because that's happened once before. So is that triggered now? Yes. All right, so we're going to remove all these. And suffer the Frenzy Brain Trauma. Go to Severe Injuries, and I believe it's back 1 page. Nope, forward 1 page. Frenzy. So gain 1d5 Insanity, 1 Speed token, and 1 Strength token. Ignore Slow on melee weapons. Don't think that's a factor here. You may not spend Survival. Okay. You may not use Fighting Arts. That's fine. Cedric doesn't have any Fighting Arts. May not use Weapon Specialization or Weapon Mastery. That's fine. Nobody has that yet. Can be gained multiple times. Lasts until end of Showdown. So here is the final piece of the puzzle for the Butcher. So the good news is we're going to be swinging more and hitting harder, which theoretically is a good thing. Like, the Butcher's insanity is infesting us. It's pretty cool, pretty thematic. But the downside to getting too much speed means if you're hitting more often, you're more likely to draw the trap. So 1d5 insanity, 1 speed token, 1 strength token. Got it. So for the insanity, he gets 1. And then, even though I'll also track it on the overlay, I do like to get the tokens as well, because sometimes you can lose tokens. So that gives him 1 speed, and he's up to 2 strength now. We still have another card to resolve. So bite. Also, technically, this should have been shuffled in at the start of his turn. Gotta remember that. Also, start of the turn, this flips back, and nobody else has used anything. Closest threat. All right, so this is now technically gone, but he is still the closest threat facing. So 2 speed, hitting on 7s. 1 hit. That's unfortunate. So no damage, but does suffer 1 random severe head injury. But we do have Dridecanthus. So when he suffers a severe injury, ignore it and archive the card instead. So I remembered that this time. So we get to ignore that for now. All right. Not too shabby. Let's see. We have 6 wounds left. So let's just see how much. Let's start with Cedric, because now he's swinging. So he's at 3 speed now, hitting on 6s. That is only 1 hit. Oh, nice. Okay. This is huge. All right. So with the club 5, he now has 2 strength of his own. So he's wounding on a 2. Barely, but I'll take it. All right, the Butcher is knocked down. Huge. All survivors gain +1 courage. That triggers bold for Leandros and Alba. Awesome. So everybody's going to be hitting on 3+ now. I might even bring Alba in for a stabbing. We'll see. Let's get those bolds taken care of. So who did I say that was? Leandros and Alba, our couple. So that's going to be Stalwart. Can't be knocked down by brain trauma or intimidate. Awesome. And let's roll some dice. All right, start off with Leandros. He rolls a 1. Womp womp. Gain +1 strength token. Okay. That's going to help us finish this fight. Brings him up to 3 for now. And Alba, that's not the button. Alba with a 10. Let's go. +1 permanent speed. Yo. All right. Oh, God. I can't have her use the daggers now. She's going to be rolling 4 dice. Alba is getting stacked. All right. That was Cedric's turn. So let's just finish this jerk off. We're going to start off, just to be safe, we're going to step Leandros back. Let me double check which spaces. Okay, he's on those spaces. Just wanted to make sure. So he is hitting on 3s now, thanks to the knockdown. Of course. 1 hit to the cape. So now he is wounding on... he's got 6, so he's wounding on a 3. That is a wound. So we get to... I think I might have miscounted on some wounds here. Oh, because I forgot to do 1 there. I know that one. And then 1 more. Attacker rolls a d10 if the result is greater than their courage. Well, thankfully he has 3 courage now. That's still greater. Suffers brain damage equal to the monster level. All right. And that is a frenzy token for him, bringing him up to 2. All right. Urza. Make it happen. So also hitting on 3s. 2 hits. Oh. Okay, we're definitely going for the Butcher's Mask first. Okay, so she is wounding 3 plus 3, so she is also wounding on a 3. Would have been nice. Let's see what happens here. That's a wound. So nothing else to worry about on that card. All right, all that's left is our superstar Alba, who is now rolling 3 dice for her bow, hitting on 3s, 2 hits. Legitimately shocked we didn't get a trap. So Cleaver, nothing really happens there. She gains an insanity. And then, okay. That's not that big of a deal. But she's also a strong girl. So she's wounding on a 4. That's a wound. Okay, yeah, I definitely miscounted. Down to our last wound here. I really wish I had Surge, but that's everybody's action, unfortunately. Oh, we also put a million tokens on here, so this is going to activate. I think that's all we can do. One more wound would have done it. It's okay. We're doing so much better than I was expecting. All right. So first of all, we're going to trigger Embrace the Pain. So Butcher's going to stand up, and he was technically facing this way. So Embrace the Pain means he gets to start off with his basic action. So basically, he's just going to be doing 3 basic actions this turn, which is a problem. Because he's definitely going to bleed out Cedric. And so if all 3 of these connect, Cedric's done. Okay. But there's nothing we could do about it. Cedric can't do anything with Immortal. Immortal was such a bad draw for this fight. All right, well, let's do it. So hitting on 7s, thankfully. All right, we survived. We're just going to do that 2 more times because there's nothing left in the AI deck. 1 hit there. So he will take a damage to his brain. Good news, he's no longer insane. So now he can start using survival. Yeah. All right, well, that's good. So 1 last swing here on 7s. 1 hit, which just for the sake of not dying, he's just straight up going to dodge that one now. Now that he has survival, let's see if he gets it back even. He does not. Okay. He's at 5 survival, which shouldn't be possible. So I believe that brings him down to 3. I might have given him an extra 1 when I shouldn't have. And we are done. All right, let's finish this off. Cedric, this has been your show, so you get to take this final attack, I'm guessing. So hitting on 6s, 2 hits, of course. Okay, so we're gonna be smart about this time. So the attacker is doomed. So before anything else happens, Urza's just gonna dash and step back 1. And she will get that survival back. Actually, no. So this is something we haven't talked about. You see here, this little symbol, it's called a flow step. This is when the survivors have an opportunity to do something. So this is when they can spend their survival. This card does not have the flow step. So I'm pretty sure that means Urza can't dash out of the way. Pretty sure that's what it means, so we're just going to go with that for now. It's not the end of the world. Although bleed is starting to happen. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Cedric will just stop there. So that's another bleed on Urza. Another bleed. All right, Cedric is in danger. Oh my. I wish so badly we had Surge. I went into this fight expecting Cedric to die, and now I want him to live so bad. Alrighty. Yeah, Cedric can't even dodge. So if either of these is a 7 or higher, Cedric is just dead. Woo! We did it. We did it. Cedric lives. All right. So Urza can't get back into range, so we're gonna go with Alba. She's hitting on her 7s. 3 hits. That's scary. Okay. 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 No trap. So super dense. If the attacker attempts to wound this location with a frail weapon, it's destroyed. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen this come up before. That's why I was a little worried about Urza's axe. But Catgut Bow is not frail. That doesn't sound great. All right, so we only need to deal 1 wound. So let's just start here. So she is wounding on a 4? Yes, she's wounding on a 4. Let's just finish it off right here. Let's just finish it off right here. That's it. Wow, that went so much better than I was expecting. Scraped by. Poor Cedric was on the edge, but he pulled through. Got out of Immortal just in time. All right. We have defeated the Butcher. I was not keeping track, but I am fairly certain everybody did a wound with their weapon. So everybody's going to get their proficiencies. And that does trigger Axe Specialist for Urza. Nice. We'll get to that in just a bit. And Cedric, that's actually his first XP. All right, let's go back and see what our rewards are. Unfortunately, we don't get a lot from the Butcher. The reward for beating the Butcher is you don't lose to the Butcher. So 1 XP, 1 proficiency, or monster level axe proficiency. So this is cool. This means as we start fighting higher level Butchers, we can really accelerate our axe proficiency if we need to. Roll 1d10 and add the Butcher's level to the results. So 2, so that's a 3. Womp. The Butcher vanishes in a flash of blinding light. Poof. That's that. There's some cool stuff in there, but it is what it is. Let's see here. That's the end of the fight. Cool. So we get to move back onto our settlement phase. So everybody returns. We gain endeavors. I think Urza has Tinker, right? Yes. So you get +1 endeavor when Urza comes back. So we have 5 whole endeavors to work with. Still not a ton to do with them, unfortunately. And we update the timeline. Thank you, Shroom. I'm so surprised. So we have our settlement event, and we also have a story event, Hands of Heat. So let's start off with the scariest part of the game. Triathlon of Death. The settlement engages in games of skill. Each player nominates a different survivor. Well, I'm the only player. Cool. Every nominated survivor determines their score for each possible contest. Survivor's score determines their place. The settlement only has 1 survivor. Do not roll. They realize that they have been competing against themselves and gain +3 insanity, a random disorder, and the last man standing fighting art. Interesting. So how does this work when you're playing solo? I'm going to do a quick Google. Pardon me while I'm looking for a ruling. So I think we just have 1 survivor. Let me really quickly consult the Discord. That's usually a good place to go for this stuff. Hmm. The community seems to be split on ruling for this. So the majority of the rulings appear to be just pick 4 survivors. Okay. All right, I'm just going to go with that. I'm going to nominate 4 survivors. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do, Shroom. All right. So let's do this. Okay. Survivor score determines their place. If the settlement only has 1 survivor, blah blah blah. All right. So for the race, everybody has 5 movement. So this will be. So we'll start off with Leandros. Yeah. So like. If I pick one, it's essentially just like, okay, that one survivor gets some reasonably good stuff. Last man standing is awesome. If I pick all 4, then bad stuff is going to happen at the same time. So I think picking 4 is the more fair way to do it. All right, so Leandros gets a 12. Urza gets a 15. Alba gets a 10. And Cedric gets a 12. So good news, we have a tie. So Urza comes in first. Leandros and Cedric tie for second. And I suppose technically I'm going to rule that means Alba comes in fourth, because that's the correct way to do it. So Leandros gets +1 permanent movement. That's actually crazy. Or no, it was Urza that gets +1 permanent movement. And then Leandros and Cedric each gain a courage. I'm going to do that on my overlay for now, because I haven't updated their sheets from previous stuff just yet. And that means poor Alba gets the torn Achilles, which I think just means she skips the next hunt. Torn Achilles. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so Alba won't be coming out with us this turn. Debate contest. 1d10 plus understanding. So Leandros adds a 2. So that gives him a 5. I'm going to split up the dice so I can remember a little easier. Urza adds 4. So that's a 7. Alba adds 1. That is an 8. And Cedric adds 3. That is a 10. So I believe that is Cedric coming in first, followed by Alba, then Urza, and Leandros. Okay, so Cedric gains a skull. That's actually really helpful right now. I will take it. He also gains bragging rights. Ooh. Alba gains an understanding. That's helpful. Urza gets too angry and must skip the next hunt event. And Leandros gains apathetic. What does that do? Cannot use or gain survival. You cannot gain courage. Cure this disorder if you have 8 or... That's awful. Ugh. No, I did kill the butcher. I just didn't celebrate by bringing him down to 0. All right, so what this means is when we start doing augury, we're just pumping all of our understanding into Leandros. Or honestly, Leandros might just be retired. Okay, and then fight contest. 1d10 plus strength attribute. So we're not counting the tokens. So that is going to be 3 for Leandros. No, 2 for Leandros, 2 for Urza, 2 for Alba, and 1 for Cedric. So Leandros gets a 7. Urza... Sorry, 7. I can't... Yeah, 8. Urza gets a 10. Alba gets an 8. And Cedric gets a 5. So that is first for Urza, tie for second, and then Leandros comes last. So Urza gets a weapon proficiency. That's cool. We still got to take care of axe proficiency. These two each get a permanent strength, which, great. I'm real happy Leandros got more strength now that he can't hunt anymore, essentially. Although Alba getting 1 is very nice. And Cedric has a dismembered arm. What does that do? Lose an arm, obviously. You can no longer activate two-handed weapons. That's actually okay for Cedric. This injury is permanent and can be recorded twice. A survivor with 2 dismembered arms, severe injuries, cannot activate any weapons, gain a bleeding token. Thankfully, like, these had healed up before this started. All right, well, the triathlon's done. Overall, not bad. Urza and Alba are both skipping the next hunt. Leandros is essentially retired. Cedric will be okay. We're going to have to mix some things up, but Cedric will be okay. All right. Next we have Hands of Heat. The Mystery of the Lantern's Glow. If the settlement has already innovated lantern oven, we have it. Experiment with lanterns. Roll 1d10. Let's see. So we want to use somebody useful. I don't think we want to risk Alistair. Let's just pick a new person. So this is going to be Elsie. Elsie gets an 8. The survivor discovers heat and the settlement celebrates. Your settlement gains the Lantern Oven innovation. The survivor gains the Red Fist secret fighting art and rolls on the lantern branding table on this page. All right, well, let's start off with that. Lantern Oven. So this gives us heat. By agitating lanterns, a source of heat becomes available to the settlement. Departing survivors gain +1 survival. That's really nice. Then we add the Lantern Oven consequences to the innovation deck. So we're actually not going to be innovating this year, so getting a free innovation is great. So that gives us cooking. Nope, that's inner lantern. Scrap smelting, and that's it. So those two go in. Cool. And the Hands of Heat secret fighting art. It's our first secret, or sorry, the Red Fist secret fighting art. So Elsie is going to be a good one for us. At the start of each showdown, each survivor gains +1 strength token. And survivors may spend strength tokens in place of survival. Red Fist is awesome. Good job, Elsie. And we roll on this other table with another 8. Branded Hand, gain +1 permanent strength. Excellent. All right, so Elsie's going to be, she's going to move up to the A team. She's probably going to take over the spear for Leandros, I'm thinking. All right, so that's resolved. Let's put that back in. Update death count, check milestones. We still only have 4 innovations. We do have a milestone for reaching the 5th innovation. And then it's just time to develop. So we don't really have much of anything to craft. One thing we can do is we can spend one of these fresh acanthus to make another dried acanthus. Since we spent one. Oh, it went back into the main box because I clicked archive. Oops, come on. All right, so we got that for us. And then we just have 5 endeavors. So, let's see. Urza, oh yeah, let's do the axe proficiency. That's in here somewhere. Weapon proficiencies. Oh. So with axe specialization, when attacking with an axe, if your wound attempt fails, you may ignore it and attempt to wound the selected hit location again, once per attack. Pretty helpful. So Urza has 4 hunt XP, which is exactly what we're looking for here. Because we're going to do shared experience. Nominate a survivor that has 2 or more hunt XP than yourself. They describe illuminating details of their desired death. If you are not deaf, gain +1 hunt XP from their story. So we're just going to straight up spend 4 endeavors. To get Elsie up to level 2. And she's just going to learn Spear. And we're going to pick somebody else. Who do we want to pick? Let's think about our weapons here. Like, club isn't great. Well, let's just pick somebody. How are we doing? Let's just grab whoever this is. Amir. So I don't know what proficiency you're getting just yet, but we'll see. But let's age them up. All right, so they each roll 2d10. We'll start with Elsie with a 15. Gains a permanent, or no, that is a fighting art. I got a little excited. So Elsie gains double dash. During your act once per round, you may spend your action to gain an extra movement. All right. Could be useful. And then Amir rolls an 11. That's another fighting art. He gains Tumble. This is a good one. When something would collide with you, you get to roll a d10. On a 6+, you scoot out the way. That's helpful. All right, we also have heat now, so we could make a monster tooth necklace. I don't think we have the bone, though. But that's definitely going to be part of our goals going forward. Nothing else we can really do. I don't want to make a 4th stone nose. That's just silly. Nothing we can do here. I don't want to do augury. So I think we're just going to level up Cedric. We do have a bone. Going to come back to that in a second. But yeah, we're going to level up Cedric while we're here. He's going to sit back for a while and not really do anything because he's going to gain shield proficiency. But he'll be good to go when the time comes with that. So for his age roll, a solid 4 plus 1 permanent strength. Okay. I forgot about this. So maybe we can, because we do have a scrap. As a broken lantern counts as scrap. Let's do it. Let's make that necklace. Bam, +1 strength for somebody. And if we can get enough reds, which I don't think we can just yet. No. Well, maybe. Can move some gear around. We might be able to do this. So we have a monster tooth necklace too. All right. So that's all of our endeavor spent. That is pretty much everything to do here. So for our upcoming strategy, let's get rid of this. We're just hunting white lions. Main goals coming up is to unlock the weapon crafter and the leather worker. Weapon crafter is slightly more important in my eyes right now. Can't really do anything with the leather crafter until we get ammonia, and there's a chance we can get ammonia for free from the white lion. So looking at our timeline, we have a nemesis coming up in 4 years. So we're going to have a couple years just to like sit back and start farming resources to build ourselves up and see where we go there. So we're going to take a short, maybe not so short break, maybe a slightly longer break than normal. Let me get things set up here. Got a lot of new survivors to move around. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. So hang out and we're going to go hunt ourselves another lion.